So what you just heard was Funky Monks from the 1991 Red Hot Chili Peppers classic album called Blood Sugar Sex Magik. And to me, it highlights a lot of what makes John Frusciante such an amazing guitar player. If you're interested in learning that song, Funky Monks, I'm gonna leave a link for some tab I wrote out for that song down below. I wanted to kind of break down some of the techniques and tricks that John uses a lot in his songs, and to see what are some tricks that he uses that we can use in our playing. So probably the most obvious technique that John's using in this song that jumps out at you is the way that he's almost doing a pop slap bass style, which is what Flea uses a lot. You know, this kind of sound. So, I mean, that's basically what he's doing. He's not really doing the slapping much, but he's definitely doing the popping. So that in and of itself really gives this funky guitar sound. That really slappy staccato sound that he's doing there. If you were to play this like a more conventional guitar player and just use a pick, it might sound more like this. You know, it still sounds cool, but it does not sound nearly as funky. It sounds to me like a little more traditional bluesy guitar playing. Now, speaking of bluesy guitar playing, John is definitely well versed in the blues, and you can tell very much by a lot of the things that he's doing, some of the subtle things he's doing in this song. Namely this, when he plays, you hear that little bend right there. That is a really kind of traditional bluesy thing to do. What he's doing is, you know, this song is based on this G minor pentatonic shape. And when he's playing it, you know, he's playing the root note here at the beginning. So that's the G root note. When he goes here and he does this, what he's doing is he's playing, starting off this note right here is the minor third in G, and then he's bending it, and it's like a quarter step, right? It's like a mini bend. And that right there is a really kind of traditional blues guitar player thing to do, is to bend that minor third up in pitch to where it's kind of flirting with becoming a major third. And that is really, you know, a hallmark of blues guitar playing, is that interaction between the minor third and the major third. And it's something clearly that John Frusciante knows well and is kind of using that trick right here in this song, and he uses it a lot. I think another really great example of this style of guitar playing from John Frusciante is off of the same album on a song called Mellowship Slinky in B major, which is a fantastic title. But in this song, he uses a lot of the same techniques as he's using in the song Funky Monks. Let's check this one out. So in Mellowship Slinky, when they get into the verse, he does this little guitar part that sounds like this. Now, if you think about it, he's using a lot of the same techniques, like I said, that he's using in the song Funky Monks. So first of all, there's that same kind of pop guitar style where you're kind of pinching it in between your thumb and pointer finger. Really staccato, really super funky sounding. Right? If you played it with a more traditional guitar style, it would not sound funky. There's no stank on that at all. There's no stank. It is stankless. So, and another example of John's kind of blues roots, I would say, is this. He does a similar thing in the last example that we were just looking at. But check this out. See how that note, that's the note he picks to bend. And it's no coincidence. Again, that's the minor third that he's bending. And he's bending it like a quarter step. It's the same as the last example we were just giving. So in this song, it's obviously in the key of B, as the title would suggest. But if we were to play this B scale, when we get here, that is the minor third, and of course that is the note he picks to bend. He's definitely singling out that note to bend a lot, and you can hear, again, it's the minor third. He's bending it a little bit to kind of flirt with sounding like a major third, and again, that is a super traditional kind of blues guitar player thing to do. So it's those little things, right? If you were to take out those little mini bends, it just loses so much feel. It's those little things that really makes John such a funky, bluesy, amazing guitar player. A little further into the song, there's another part that comes in that highlights another awesome technique of John's. Let's check it out. So that part sounds so funky. What he's doing here is something that he does a lot. He's playing 3 strings at a time. So instead of relying like a lot of guitar players would on 6-string chords, big full chords, John really veers away from that most of the time. He's much more likely to play chords with just 3 notes in them. And this technique that he's doing right here is something he does a lot, where he's just playing 3 strings and he adds all these muted notes in between. This kind of thing. Now imagine if you were to take those same chords and take out some of the funky elements, you might have something like this. You can hear how much right there, how much funk is subtracted from the song. Actually, by adding more notes and by adding all of these strings, you're really taking away a lot of what makes it so funky. Now this gets into one more element of John's playing, which might be the most important element as far as playing funk guitar style, and that is playing slightly behind the beat. So you can hear it all over in John's playing and in Chad Smith's drumming and in Flea's playing as well, that very often they're not playing directly on the beat. What they're doing is they're playing like milliseconds after the beat, and it just gives it this funky, stanky feel to everything that they do. And if you're looking for what's sort of the secret sauce of John's playing, I would say that's probably it. It's this ability to play just slightly behind the beat that just gives it this feel, this awesome groove to everything that he does. I read in an interview years ago with John Frusciante, I think it was coming up on their Californication album at the time of the interview, and he was saying in the interview that he wanted to become the perfect guitar player for Flea as a bass player. And so I put a lot of thought into thinking, what did he mean by that? And in my interpretation, if you listen to that album in particular, the Californication album, you can hear how sparse his guitar parts are, how much space he leaves for Flea, and he kind of allows Flea to be the lead of the band. So a song like Scar Tissue is what comes to mind right away for me. So check out how much space he leaves in this song, Scar Tissue. Now, as you can see there, mostly what he's doing, he's just playing root notes and thirds, and he's really laying out of the rest of the chord completely. So a more traditional guitar player might play something like this. Or something even like this. Which sounds fine by itself, but taken in the context of the song, that takes away so much room for Flea's bass lines. And when you kind of cut it down to just the essential elements, which in John's case is really just playing root notes and thirds for the most part, you're leaving all this space for Flea to come in and take the lead on the song. Now, if you take a listen to another Red Hot Chili Peppers album like One Hot Minute, which is also a good album, and that one has Dave Navarro playing guitar on it, if you listen to what Dave Navarro does on that album, he doesn't leave as much space for Flea as John does, not even by a mile, I would say. And you can look at an example like the song My Friends. So it's a cool guitar part, and nothing against Dave Navarro, and I actually really like that album, but there isn't so much space in that. When he's playing these open chords and letting everything ring out, the guitar is really taking up most of the space in the song. So to me, that's kind of what John probably meant when he said he wanted to be the perfect guitar player for Flea. He's leaving so much space for Flea to take over. Let's check out a couple other examples of John's really sparse guitar playing. Another one that comes to mind is this riff from the song Around the World. Another great example of this kind of style is in the song I Like Dirt from Californication. Again, similar techniques, right? All these muted strings with little funky 3-note stabs in there. Very behind the beat and very sparse, leaving so much open space for Flea. Now that we've discussed a lot of his rhythmic playing, I wanted to talk some about what makes his soloing so fantastic. In my opinion, he's got this great ability to come up with guitar solos that sound really melodic and singable. They're the kind of solos that you could hear the song once or twice and you could hum the melody of the solo. And I think this is one of the best elements of John's playing. There's a million guitar players out there with crazy chops and shredding styles and everything else, but to be able to come up with a guitar solo that's so melodic and so memorable and, like I said, singable is really not that easy to do, and John is a master at this. Now, one of the first examples that comes to mind for me is the guitar solo that he plays on the song Soul to Squeeze. So simple, and it's really just outlining the melody of the song, but I would argue that it's the perfect part for it. There's no need for shredding, there's no need to show off his chops, which he definitely has. He's just keeping it simple and melodic and memorable. Another example of this is checking out the beginning of the solo of the song Californication. It really doesn't get much more simple than this. Now, I would imagine most guitar players playing on top of this song would have played something so much more complex and probably in their mind so much better and fancy to show off their skills. John doesn't do any of that. He's laying back, he's letting the band take over, he's letting the song be the song, and he's just fitting in perfectly.